Spoilers for Beyond the Gates on April 3rd reveal that, according to leaked information, the episode airing on Friday, April 3rd will be packed with compelling developments. Nicole decides to bring Keel to lunch with her family. Haley is furious as she feels like an outsider among the Dupree family. Not every relationship that appears after heartbreak is a form of salvation. Some people arrive at exactly the moment when a heart is growing weak, when a life needs to be seen, supported, and reassured that it is still desirable, still worthy of being chosen. But precisely because they arrive at the right moment, they can also become the cruelest test of all. In Fairmont Crest, where family meals have never been just meals, where every invitation to appear together is an unspoken declaration of status, power, and intimacy, Nicole is standing at a crossroads that is both gentle and dangerous. After the deeply awkward double date with Vanessa, Joey, and Carlton, she can no longer keep lying to herself that whatever exists between her and Carlton is simply an old emotional thread that was never properly named. It is true that there is harmony between them, an understanding born from two people who have watched each other for far too long. Emotional rhythms that feel as though they are only one step away from honesty. But because of that, there is also too much history between them, too many shadows, too many questions that were never fully answered. Carlton is not a fresh wind. He is an old feeling awakened again, and sometimes that is even more frightening than a new mistake. Meanwhile, Keel enters her life as something entirely different, unburdened by the past, untouched by the shadow of what should have happened but never did. Not forcing Nicole to return and count every crack in her heart. With Keel, she does not feel as though she is reliving an unfinished love story. She feels as though she is stepping through a door that has just opened, and that very newness makes this choice both alluring and suspicious. Because anything too new in a world full of calculation can be either salvation or a trap. Her decision to bring Keel to Easter lunch at the Fairmont Crest Country Club is therefore not just a polite invitation. It is a public move. It is Nicole's way of placing Keel at the center of her family's gaze, its traditions, and the standards that have weighed on every relationship for years. She is not merely bringing a man as her guest to a holiday gathering. She is testing whether the future she is imagining is brave enough to stand in the middle of the Dupree family. Keel may be something new, but Fairmont Crest is never gentle with anything new. Anyone who enters that space has to accept that they are being measured by polite but cold eyes, perfect but judgmental smiles, greetings that sound harmless, but always hide a needle beneath them. The issue is not only how Keel will be received. The greater question is how he will handle revealing his true self in a place where appearance is treated like a form of social courtesy. Nicole may be drawn to Keel's freshness, but at Easter, that newness will be forced to confront the most rigid and unforgiving old order. And in a family like hers, awkwardness never arrives as an accident. It is always fed by the things left unsaid. That lunch has even less chance of being peaceful because Nicole is not only surrounded by a new romantic possibility, but also by a Carlton who is learning to look at the woman he wants through the eyes of a man who may be losing her forever. That earlier double date almost stripped away everything everyone had tried to conceal. Joey was angry, not only because of the tension in the air, but because he could feel everything slipping beyond his control. Carlton, too, is not taking it easily, standing by and watching Nicole lean in another direction. What makes this situation painful is not that he never had a chance, but that he had too much time to nurture his feelings without ever being able to turn them into something certain. A man who holds on to feelings for too long can easily begin to confuse persistence with possession. Carlton may tell himself that he loves Nicole deeply, that what he feels for her does not fade easily, that he understands her in ways Keel cannot yet understand. But love delayed for too long can also become frustration, can turn into the feeling that something that should have been his is being taken away, and that is where pride is wounded most deeply. The fact that he turns to Ted for advice does not suggest calmness. On the contrary, It shows that Carlton has reached the point where confidence alone is no longer enough to keep him steady. The bitter irony is that the man he turns to is Ted, a man whose life once nearly collapsed completely and who, even now, is only just learning how to step across the ruins of his own past. Ted may understand the pain of loving the wrong way, holding on to the wrong thing, or realizing too late that emotional life does not operate according to willpower. But precisely because he has lost so badly before, his advice to Carlton carries a quiet danger. A man who has not truly healed does not give advice from total clarity. He gives it from his wound. If Ted advises Carlton to let Nicole go, that may be the voice of maturity, but it may also simply be the voice of a man who has grown so tired that he no longer believes love is worth fighting for. If Ted advises Carlton to pursue her until the end, that may not come from faith either, but from the regret of a man who lost too much because he could not hold on to what he wanted. So their conversation is not merely a scene of one man asking another for guidance. It is a collision between two men struggling with the same question. When the heart has entered chaos, should one step back to preserve dignity or move forward to avoid a lifetime of regret? While Nicole stands between something old that has not ended and something new that is calling her name, Haley enters Easter with the mindset of a woman under siege. That is the most dangerous state for a woman who is both ambitious and unwilling to accept being treated as an outsider. It has been over a year since she married Bill, but marriage has never been the ticket that allowed her to walk straight into the heart of the Dupree family. They have tolerated her presence far more than they have accepted her. They have watched her, measured her, and perhaps deep down they are still waiting for the day when she reveals the true nature they have always suspected. The irony is that their instinct is not wrong. Haley is not merely a wife who is disliked. She is a woman who once went so far as to intend to kill Bill, who truly tried to do it, and who now must wear the face of someone trying to belong. But the most dangerous people are often not dangerous when they are attacking. They are dangerous when they are forced to smile among a crowd of people who never wanted them there. The shift in the way Anita and Vernon are beginning to see Bill only makes Haley more uneasy. If she could once comfort herself with the thought that, at the very least, she still had Bill in a space separated from his family, that certainty is now starting to crumble. Anita and Vernon are gradually beginning to trust Bill again, and that movement alone is enough to make Haley feel the ground beneath her losing its stability. A woman like Haley does not become jealous only over emotion. She is jealous of position. She is jealous of history. She is jealous that Bill may be welcomed back into the family through a kind of forgiveness she will never receive. That means her fear is not simply the fear of being abandoned. It is the fear of being replaced in the very role she had to fight for, manipulate for, and commit terrible mistakes to obtain. And when a woman like that begins to feel isolated in a sea of Duprees, her silence will always be more alarming than any public objection. Haley may appear as though she is trying to fit in, but in truth she may only be doing what the best survivors always do, observing carefully so she can strike at the weakest point. That atmosphere becomes even sharper because of Anita, who is trying to prove that she is still the emotional pillar of the family even though her body and recent hardships have worn her down more than a little. Jennifer Holliday's appearance at Easter does not merely make Fairmont Crest shine more brightly. It also carries the meaning of an embrace for Anita, a presence of friendship, artistry, and glorious memory, as if reminding everyone that she is not only a mother, a grandmother, or a woman going through a difficult season. She is Anita Dupree, a symbol who once lived through glory and still possesses enough strength to stand firm under scrutiny. But some forms of strength do not come from feeling no pain. They come from understanding that one is not allowed to collapse in front of the people who still need something to lean on. That is why when Anita has another confrontation with Anastasia, the moment is not simply about putting a gossip in her place. It feels more like the moment when a woman who fully understands her own worth decides to remind the entire room that there are still boundaries that should not be crossed. The problem is that in a place like this club, gossips are never just people who enjoy idle chatter. They survive through information, and sometimes they thrive because they know more than they should. Anastasia may simply be a woman who enjoys meddling in other people's private lives, but it is also entirely possible that she is holding a fragment of truth powerful enough to shake the fragile balance of the entire gathering. If Anita has to step in and shut her down, then what has been touched may not be trivial at all. Some secrets in Fairmont Crest do not explode the moment they are discovered. They only need to be mentioned to the right person at the right time to make a family, a marriage, or a powerful alliance begin cracking from within. That is what makes every clash at this club far more dangerous than it appears. While outside there are strained smiles and beautifully arranged dining tables, elsewhere in the holiday Naomi is carrying the kind of anxiety that cannot be hidden behind good manners. Ever since Jacob moved out to carry out his first secret assignment, she has lived in a state of waiting that tears her apart day by day, waiting for a text, waiting for a call, waiting for some signal strong enough to tell her that the man she loves is still there, still himself, not swallowed by danger or altered by distance. The recent unanswered messages have not only made Naomi sad, they have gnawed at her mind in a far more frightening way. When people do not receive a reply from the person they love, the first pain is usually the feeling of abandonment. But then another, deeper layer of fear appears. What if that silence is not a choice, but a sign of the worst possible thing? Naomi is being torn apart right at that point. She does not know whether she fears Jacob being in danger more, or fears that he is changing in a world she cannot enter. And the truth is that both fears are equally destructive. So the fact that they find a way to see each other during Easter is not just a brief reunion. It feels like a breath Naomi has had to hold for far too long before finally being allowed to exhale. But even that reunion cannot be simple, because when a relationship has been tested by secrecy, people do not only want to see each other again. They want to know whether the distance has shifted something that can no longer be repaired. Naomi needs Jacob to calm her fear, but deep inside, she also needs a harsher confirmation that the walls he has built are there because of his mission, not because he is learning how to live without her. And Jacob, if he truly is in danger, may look at Naomi as the only part of his life that still softens him, and also the part that makes him most vulnerable. So that meeting, no matter how gentle it may be, will still carry the bitter taste of all the things they cannot fully say. And that is the true spirit of Easter at Fairmont Crest. No one walks into that meal with an unbroken heart. Nicole carries hesitation between the safety of the past and the pull of something new. Carlton carries the sinking feeling of a man who may have arrived too late for the most important moment of his life. Ted carries the ashes of his own life as he tries to light the path for someone else. Haley carries the anger of a woman kept outside the door she thought marriage had opened for her. They may think he is being accepted back into the family, but that very return may ignite the most dangerous insecurity in the wife standing beside him. Anita carries the dignity of a resilient woman fighting through hardship without wanting anyone to see her weakness. Anastasia carries the most frightening weapon in a place like this, information. Naomi carries fear, and Jacob carries the darkness of a mission he cannot name. So the biggest question hanging over this lunch is not who will sit beside whom, who will smile more beautifully, or who will become the center of attention when Jennifer Holliday begins to sing. The real question is, who will fail to keep their mask in place by the end of the day? Because in Fairmont Crest, holidays have never been only for celebration. They are the perfect stage for isolation to turn into hatred, for old feelings to become obsession, for anxiety to become foreboding, for people who seem to be healing to suddenly realize how fragile they still are. And if that earlier double date revealed the first cracks, then this Easter lunch may be the moment those cracks are forced wider beneath the blinding light of family, tradition, and secrets that no longer want to stay buried. When a woman like Nicole decides to bring Kale into her world, when a man like Carlton is forced to look the truth straight in the face, when Haley realizes that she will always remain an outsider in the house she fought to enter, And when Naomi finally gets Jacob back only to realize that love cannot erase fear, then what is about to happen will be far more than a few ordinary awkward moments. It will be a beautiful holiday on the surface, but one filled with the smell of smoke underneath, where every glance may begin a new rupture. And every gentle gesture may be the final curtain before everything truly explodes. Is Nicole opening her heart to Keel, or is she only running from Carlton? Will Carlton fight for love, or will pride make him walk away from Nicole? Will Haley endure the coldness around her, or turn it into a counterattack? Will Naomi find Jacob again, or lose him one more time? Is Anastasia merely nosy, or does she truly know too much? Is Ted saving Carlton, or pulling him down with him? And this Easter lunch, will it heal the Dupree family, or tear it apart all over again?